What's going on, family? So it's Poet Deep, just coming through because I wanted to, just provide some of my thoughts on a whole situation of a lot of people coming down on Gucci, boycotting Gucci, the clothes designer. Uh, the situation with Steve Harvey and Monique. But they both tied into each other in a sense. And so what I'm gonna start with first is the situation with Gucci, right? And if you're not a person that see things in a sense of a black collective worldview or African worldview, and I understand all of us as black people do not consider themselves as African, but if you consider yourself as an African like I do, African American, black, or whatever, but you still understand the black collective, just who we are, right? Overall, we got to ask the question is, why must we be offended from others in order for us to become more self-determined? That's a problem within itself. I've seen a lot, and I've seen this happen before, that when a white manufacturer or a white owner of something says something or does something that is offensive to black people, we have this boycotting, we have this protesting that start coming about. And then right after it come about, then we say support black business. And that's a problem. That's insanity that's within our people. For us to be able to achieve self-independence and self-empowerment, we have to be fueled and motivated by hatred, by slander, and things like that. And that's a big mistake. That's a big mistake. We should be about the business of buying black, supporting black, and becoming independent just because. Because it's our cultural birthright to do so as a people, to be self-determined. We do not pay attention of just the hypocrisy within itself of the values that we as black people share, along with other people who do not have our best interests at heart. Economically, socially, politically, anything, right? So for me, it's not a thing about whatever Gucci do or any designer that's from any other nationality besides my own. They would never have to offend me for me to stop doing business with them. Because beyond the bare necessities that I might need, that was produced by a white manufacturer, they're not going to get my money anyway. My own personal preference, I think, is ridiculous to pay thousands of dollars for purses. I think it's ridiculous to kick out a lot of money for a lot of different things that has no real value for yourself, for your people, right? I was once taught, and I never forgot, everything that we must do must be assessed in the context of warfare. Because we are living in a war. We're just not living in a physical war. But nevertheless, it is a war. It is a war. Economically, culturally, politically, socially, all of these different things are being waged against us as a people. But we should not have to be offended, or we should not have to be slighted in order for us to start or go back to talking about supporting our own. I've seen different stuff on social media where people get disrespected by Asians in different Asian hair stores, Asian hair salons. And we want to hashtag support black. I'm not saying anything is wrong with that statement. It's just the context and when we want to make that determination. We should be doing these things just because. See, other cultures and nationalities, they don't have to justify their reasons of why, as a collective, they do not support black manufacturers. They don't have to do that because they're going to support their culture. They're going to support their people first. Just because. So no one has to be necessarily prejudiced, racist, or anything. It's just because. It's a way of being able to it's a way of ensuring the survivability of you and your people. And too many times what we don't really want to address is that we want what America has taught us that we should have. We share the same values as them. We want their houses. We want their cars. And I mean their houses and cars. I'm saying the ones that are deemed as a status symbol. That we have arrived, that we've made it somewhere. We want to be a part of what they have. We believe that the grass is greener on the other side. And when you look at historically, when you look at what we were building in segregation and how much we lost in integration, it was because of the whole deception of the grass being greener on the other side. And that's a problem. And we still are doing that today. And a lot of times it's because of the self-hatred that we really have for ourselves. We don't call it self-hatred because it's popular to embrace these name brands. You talk about Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Versace, all of these different brands. And I mean, even, it can go into other designers and things like that. It has been made popular from a lot of black celebrities, popular from certain black people that are in leadership, musicians, and different things like that. Everybody sporting, promoting, and advertising it. And these people are not putting money back into black communities at all. And if I was them, I wouldn't either. You stupid enough to give them your money, keep giving them your money, and as a collective people, you'll keep investing into building their empires. And see, another thing that y'all don't realize is these same companies, see, y'all looking at it just on on a business side of supporting the company. But then y'all got to go further to study about what a lot of these companies do with some of the proceeds and how they put their money towards political agendas to help push their people forward, to help push the American dream forward in the way in which how they see it. We got to look at that. A lot of these people are not just business people. They also have a political side. That's not something that they're going to widely expose. But they also have money that they put towards political agendas that are towards their best interests. So the question is, what do we have to go through? What do we have to experience to start doing the same for our own? To start feeling like one of our people who sell a shirt for $20, $25, $35 that's competent is just as legitimate as Gucci. Why do we need these things? And I hear it a lot, even among people who proclaim to be conscious, people who supposed to be socially aware about how we are socially engineered into these characters. How we can understand it. And I still see a lot of us trying to justify materialism. We still try to justify our attachment to the things that they have and what they advertise to us. Now, I'm not saying don't live life. Do not have nice things. But I do think we got to kind of have a cap on what nice is. And we also got to consider at the end of the day that we still got a lot of people out here suffering. So we cannot be living a life of self-indulgence when you got so many people out here suffering. You can't help everybody. So I'm not here to say that your mission is to help everybody, because that's impossible. But you got a lot of solid organizations. You got a lot of solid black people who are not looking for fame. They are not looking for clout. They're not on social media. They're not on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. They're not on none of these platforms. They're keeping their head down doing the work. They're running after school programs, homeschool programs. They're doing nonprofit initiatives. They're working with out of their pocket to help people out. It's a lot of our people that deserve the money and they're competent to do something with it. But many of us do not invest into that because we have their values. And since we have that values, it is not valued to invest and to build and develop our own. We got to make that the new cool. To build a community needs to be the mainstream cool for black people. To build a community. And what I mean by build a community is invest into the homes, invest into gardening initiatives, invest into education. Being able to invest in more businesses in that neighborhood, invest into being able to manufacture something so that we have a control over thousands of people being employed. We must invest into black politicians that have a black agenda to put to the table. Now, the black agenda can be comprised of many things. So Gucci, I'm never mad at Gucci. I'm always looking at us and our insanity. Because we've helped to build them up somewhere. Not saying like we're all of their clientele base. But we have helped to build their house. And since we do not really understand the reality in which we live in this country, we keep being confronted here with how people really see us. And we got a problem with that. And a lot of times, that's our fault. That's not their fault. That's our problem and our insanity that we have not gotten the message yet. That for the most part, we can act and feel like we are interwoven in this culture, this multiculturalism that we have went for. We have fell for all of these different illusions and things like that. Constantly, repeatedly. We have fell for these many things. And we constantly feel like we are a part of this society. And then we have to keep having that rude awakening. They doing what they supposed to do. And that's advancing the agenda of their own people. Whether it's economically, politically. They're going to invest what they see best. Could have been a strategy of marketing behind that move and them already understanding they was going to get some backlash? Probably so. But I have no feelings about Gucci. I don't need for somebody to come out and tell me that they hate me to want me to be able to empower myself, because I've learned enough thus far to understand that self-empowerment or collective empowerment of African people is the order of the day. I don't care if racism stopped tomorrow. Collective self-empowerment of African people should not stop because racism is over. So what I'm saying is that we got to stop falling for these different illusions. And we got to start assessing closely the values that we've picked up. Because one thing Dr. Amos Wilson said, that in order for this system to be successful, African people have to literally be out of their minds. And to this day, we are still out of our minds. But being out of our minds is the norm here. Because we can speak well, intellect, we can get good jobs, we can buy nice houses, we can buy nice things that cover up our psychological sickness. It covers up our cultural disloyalty. Because we have no cultural connection anyway. So that's why we feel like culture is secondary or last to everything. Our religion, all of this thing precedes culture. When people don't know that the fundamental basis of what we experience as activity is a byproduct of your culture or byproduct of culture. It might not be your culture, but it's a byproduct of culture. There is no language without culture. There's no religion without culture. There's no form of dressing, ways of addressing situations, social norms and things like that without culture. Culture is the nucleus. Culture is the foundation. It's the starting point. So we got to address that. Lastly, finish off. Steve Harvey and Monique. You know what I'm saying? So Steve making a point to her, you know, like you don't want to fall out of good graces. You know what I mean? To lose what you got. And I'm going to speak to that, right? I'm going to speak to that logic and people with that logic, right? Especially somebody such as myself who have other lives that depend on me for their sustenance, right? If we stop, when we get money, and this is from our people, because some of our people are going to make millions of dollars. I'm not saying don't go make millions of dollars. But you don't want to make millions of dollars to the extent that you have became a total pawn. That your self-dignity and self-worth and integrity is completely shot. Whereas though you can just simply be bought off, right? Any self-respecting person who has a true relationship with the Creator will not sacrifice that. Because to lower themselves like that is a disrespect to creation and the universe and their Creator. But if we learn how to invest collectively, meaning when we get in these millions of dollars, when we get money, if we know how to invest in our money, invest into our communities, we can have our own leverage. We can have our own backup plans. So when the day that if we were within a certain capacity doing something that someone of another ethnicity had control over, they kick us out, it's not over for us. It's just that source of income or that stream has dried up. But the wells have not stopped the water from running. And that's the problem. We bank everything into their system. We bank everything into their way of doing. To the extent that if we lose that, our waters or our wells run dry. And we got to change that. We have to learn about collective self-investment and self-empowerment. Dr. Amos Wilson has a good book. I didn't even finish all of it. I read most of it. But a good starting point, Black Power. Dr. Clark Anderson, something, has material that you can review on YouTube to start getting your mind oriented to this different mindset. But those are just my thinking. Or those are just my thoughts. And this is just my thinking. Collective and self-empowerment should precede everything that we do. So even when you're making good money or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You're able to invest it and be diligent a certain way. So if certain things are taken away from you or certain things run dry, you still have home. You still have things to be able to fall back on and your people can still thrive. But anytime you want to bank everything that you do that's in their world, in their image, in their status of what they think you should be and what you're trying to maintain for the respect and loyalty of others and not your own, you're going to fail every time. And we need our celebrities to go back to what they used to be, the Paul Robesons, Nina Simone's, Muhammad Ali. Look at that leadership. Look at the leadership and the characters. Listen to the language in which they spoke. We got to go back to that, to a lot of our great black musicians, because a lot of that stuff, we've lost the connections and the ties to these people. So to sum it up, I ain't got nothing to say about Gucci, but it's us. Because it's a lot of us that were supporting Gucci before that even happened. And some of us, if we had the money, we be in Gucci our damn selves. So we got a lot to fix within us. Let's fix it, family. Slowly. Peace.